You'll be chilling late all the way back, so casual, unintentional, way past mellow, super relaxed, not emotional, no, one-dimensional, no. Make it make sense. Carefree is cool, but not at my expense. Tell me what matters, 'cause I don't know where you've been. No lovers, just a real fan with a friend. Tell me how long until you're gone again. Gone, gone with wind. How long until you're gone again? Gone with the wind. How long until you're gone?
Yes, thank you all for tuning in with me. Yes, you are listening to the Creative Lips Podcast. And I am your host, Regina. Yes. And you are listening to episode number 44. Yes, this is episode number 44, guys. And this is Are We Here For Mondays. This is a special episode, y'all. Special episode today because there are things that we need to be creative and things that we need to get into and talk about today. A state of an emergency today to talk about today. Yes, there are a lot of things that has been going on in, social media and in the news and, all over America. And now it's trickling into all over the world. Yes, it's trickling to all over the world. A couple of topics that I want to talk about today. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple of topics that I want to get into today and talk about. A lot of sensitive stuff that I want to get into today. So I normally like to start off my, podcast, because I want to really get into talking about this today. There are a lot of things that I'm going to be talking about today. Now, before I get into the normal things that I do during my, my episodes, I normally give self-affirmations and disclaimers and so forth. And, but first off, I like to welcome all of my new listeners and all of my active listeners. Yes, I welcome you all who are listening to me today. And I appreciate you all listening to me and listening to Creative Lips Podcast. Just like I said, I see the stats and I see, who's listening to me. I don't see your name physically, but I see where you all are listening to me from. And it's all over the world. Yes, it is. And I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate all the love and support that you all have been giving my podcast. Yes, thank you. So, I just want to say this, because just like I said, it is going to be topics that I'm going to be talking about today that is really, really sensitive right now. It's really, really sensitive right now because there are a lot of things going on in the world today, especially here in America. There are a lot of things going on that is very horrific, that is very eye-opening, that is very, just downright craziness. You know what I'm saying? Crazy bullshit, that is going on in this world today. You know what I'm saying? And that has been going on in centuries. And before I get into talking about those topics today, now for those who are following me on social media, you would know what I'm going to be talking about today. And if you don't, the topics that I'm going to be talking today is about George Floyd. Yes. Breonna Taylor. Yes. And the officer, of course, that brutally murdered George Floyd. So I'm going to be getting to those topics today. So I just want to, just let everyone know before I start talking about the specific things that happen to the both of those beautiful black kings and queens. I want to just basically let you all know beforehand what I'm going to talk about. If it's a trigger right now, if you're sensitive and if it triggers you, because the world is in a state of an emergency right now. We're all in a state of an emergency right now. So if it triggers you, then by all means, I'm going to ask you to not listen to this episode. Okay? Please do not listen to this episode at all. Okay? All right. So now, if it doesn't trigger you and you want to hear what I have to say from my own opinion. Now, when I talk about these two individuals, when I talk about these two people, it is basically strictly from off of my own opinion. I've been wanting to talk about these two people for a long time, but when I talk about stuff that is pertaining to different topics, my podcast specialize in, what I cater to, what my niche is. I cater to, talking about things that went viral, topics that I find creative, whether it be in, music, entertainment, fashion, and, and of course, news that I find very sensitive that needs to be talked about. And I use my platform as such to talk about those things. And of course, on the other side, I do talk about a little bit of tea. Yes, a little bit of tea, meaning I talk about a little bit of things that, that has went viral. I don't talk about any gossip. I don't talk about any hearsay. Because I do fact check myself. Because I just want to make sure that I'm giving you all the good content. All right. So I just want to say that even before I start this episode today, and I also want to say that, when I do talk about these individuals, I do not want to harm anyone. I don't want to, disrespect anyone, make anyone look in any bad, type of light, make anyone look like, any kind of way that is in a negative light. I am not trying to do that. That is not what my podcast is about. That is not what I promote out here, for the world to listen to me, And in fact, I also do welcome open criticism as well, And if there's anything that you also would like for me to know, added to with these topics, any topics that I talk about, by all means, send me an email at CreativeLipsPodcast@gmail.com. And I'll be sure to read it and get back to you. Okay, guys? All right, so I just wanted to just put that out there before I start this episode today, because it's very sensitive. Things are sensitive right now. And by all means, it needs to be. It needs to be. Okay? Because it's affecting all of us. It's affecting all of us. It's affecting me. It's affecting my home now. You know, not my personal home, but it's affecting, actually, yeah, it is affecting my personal home. It's affecting outside of my home. You know, they're doing things outside of my door that I can't control. You know, stealing ATMs and shit right in front of my door. Yes. You know, so I have, you know, a lot to say. I have a lot to say today, and I want to get into some creative shit. Some creative shit today. Yes, I do. And I want to sound off. You know, I want to talk about, you know, my opinion and those topics and other things as well pertaining to, you know, what has been going on, what has been going viral. All right. So now I want to get into, you know, saying my self-affirmations today. You know, I always start off my podcast by saying self-affirmations. Just, you know, saying anything that you are going through, no matter what it is. Only you know what you are going through. Only you know what you are faced. Only you know what is at stake before you. Only you know what obstacles that are faced before you. I pray and hope that anything that you want to get out of, you know, any situation that you want to get out of, any situation that you want to overcome, anything that you want to stop, or anything that you want to start. I pray and hope that you will make it through out of that situation. No matter what it is in your life. Only you know that. Only you know that. No matter what it is. I hope that you will see that light at the end of that tunnel. And it will open up that opportunity for you. Just so that you can overcome whatever it is that is faced before you. And you will be that warrior. Because, as I always say, you know more. You know more than what you think you know. You're smarter than what you think you know you can do. So, by all means, I pray and hope that you will make it through. All right, guys. All right, so now, you know, just like I said, I wanted to get into, you know, the topics, you know, that I want to talk about today. You know, I want to start off by talking about George Floyd. Yes, George Floyd. Now, for those who don't know, that you get some people who don't know. You know, but I just want to say, you know, talk about him. George Floyd is a black man. You know, he resides in Minneapolis. You know, Minneapolis, where all the craziness is going on right now. You know, he was brutally murdered by police officer Derek Chauvin on May 25th. Allegedly, this arrest was all over him passing a counterfeit $20 bill. It's all started from that, you know. He was in a retail establishment, and then they called the police on him, you know, in regards to that counterfeit bill. And then once the police arrived on the scene, you know, that's when things escalated. You know, for the worse. For the worse. Now, since then, you know, the media, yes, the media, the false media, waited 2 days, 2 days to release that clip, that horrific clip of the killing of George Floyd, until there was rioting and looting within that city. You know what I'm saying? Because word got around word got around that he was murdered, and that certain outlets had a clip of him. That first clip that you've seen, that horrific clip of the officer putting his knee in his neck, and then George Floyd succumbing to craziness. The former Minneapolis police officer shown on a video putting his knee on George Floyd's neck for more than 8.5 minutes. That deadly time spun, allegedly including 2 minutes and 43 seconds after Floyd passed out. He passed out. Chauvin should have known, that police officer should have known that this type of restraint with a subject in prone position is inherently dangerous. Dangerous. It was dangerous and detrimental to him that he was murdered from that move. Now, when I say move, I'm going to tell you why I call it a move. Okay. George Floyd, as he laid on that ground, as he laid on the street, he repeatedly said, "I can't breathe," multiple times. Repeatedly he said that. And then he also called his mother, which had previously passed away. And then he also called his children's names as well. And he said, "Please." And then that's when he passed away. He passed away. He died. They said later on he died at the hospital, but no, he died right there. He died right there. One of Chauvin's colleagues even suggested that rolling Floyd onto his side, but Chauvin allegedly said no, staying put where we got him. That's what he said to the other officers that were there. And the video was then shown to millions. It just went viral. Viral like the virus COVID. You know what I'm saying? It went viral. Millions of people call for justice with what you're seeing right now, and even in your city. And in your country too as well, because now over there in London, they are protesting as well. They call for justice for George Floyd, and his family demanded that the police officers involved be also held fully accountable too as well. The coward police officer who was now fired, he's fired now. On last Tuesday, along with the other 3 officers involved in this horrific murder of George Floyd. Now, Chauvin was taken into custody last week. He was taken into custody on Friday, and he faced those charges of 3rd-degree murder and manslaughter. County Attorney Mike Freeman announced all 4 other officers, just like I said, were also fired, but only Chauvin was charged. Now, we're going to ask the universe, we're going to manifest this, that they also get charged too as well. Yes. Now, the reason why, this is why I call it a move. Okay, because I watch a lot of UFC. Not a lot, but I am a supporter of it. It is a very brutal sport. And I knew that they were going to chime in. I knew that they were going to chime in this. I knew that they were going to say a lot about this. Because it was one of the UFC players by the name of Jon Jones stated that the Minneapolis police knew exactly what he was doing with 46-year-old George Floyd. He knew what he was doing with him. He knew what type of move to put on an individual just to cause harm to them and also cause death too as well. He knew what he was doing. Yes, he did. Now, the mixed martial arts, Jon Jones, was livid over the situation. And of course added, that's including all of us. You know what I'm saying? That's including all of us, all together. Jones referred to pinning someone down at the neck with a knee is referred to as, the profession or a hobby of boxing. And the move is called a blood choke. You know what I'm saying? It's called a blood choke. That is the name of the move that he did. Look it up, y'all. Look it up, guys. Look it up. Do your research. I did my research on this because I want to know. I want to know what's going on out there. I want to know what these police officers have in their minds. Or even an individual have in their minds. You know what I'm saying? I need to know. And he recognized that UFC fighter recognized that instantly as a fatal hold that cuts off blood circulation to the brain. And of course, he went on to say that the police officer knew beforehand that anyone who has practiced this very basic. This is very basic, y'all. This is very basic shit. This is just basic form of jujitsu. Very basic. Because that sport, it gets more intense. If you learn more of the art of it. He recognized that as the blood choke. And he also said that when he saw this, it is very clear. He said this is what Jon Jones, a professional UFC fighter, has said. He said that it is very clear a day murder torture. A day murder torture. That is the worst thing that you can do to someone. So that shows you the mind of Derek Chauvin. That shows you his mind. And there was also evidence that he is a part of, it was shown, people saying allegedly he was a part of a white supremacist group too, as well. So it was shown of that, you know what I'm saying? And his aggression towards the black community as well. So how do these people become police officers? I have no idea. I don't know how they trickle down. They just trickle down the processing, the applications, the interviews, they just instantly become police officers. There's so many of them out there. So many of them out there. I mean, today we're going to get really deep into it, guys. We're going to really, really get deep into this. This needs to be talked about. A lot of people are afraid to talk about it because, they're scared. Some of them are scared. Some of them will say, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch that subject. But no, we're going to talk about this today. Yes, we're going to get into this today. We're going to get deep into it today. And we're going to talk about, what happened with George Floyd's death. So the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and the FBI are both investigating Floyd's death right now. The BCA arrested Chauvin at 11:45 a.m. on May 29th. Now, he has a conviction for third-degree murder. Now, for those who don't know about the law, I did my research on it. I'm not a law professor. I just want to also put that disclaimer out there. I don't work in the law, but I did my research on this as well. And for third-degree murder in the state of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the murder means an offender did not intend to kill, but that someone died by perpetrating an act admittedly dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard for human life. All right? So that's section 609.195, murder in the third degree. All right? So, now murder in the third degree, just like I said, a person can get up to 25 years for just that. So if once this goes to trial, once this gets, trickled down, paperwork, whatever they got to do, to put it through trial, they might even not put it through trial. They might just give him this third degree and then he gets 25 or less. We'll see. We'll see how that's going to all unfold because they're still investigating, still looking at footage, because after that, other footage have leaked out. Not just that one that just went viral and that's just hit everyone and everyone saw it for what it is. And then when other footage came out from the other side of the vehicle, it showed the other officers also kneeling on him and crushing him as well. So, of course, he succumbed to that. It was obvious. It was obvious they were trying to kill him. It was obvious they were trying to kill him. It's an agenda, guys. We need to wake up. It was evident. All of this is programmed. All of this is programmed. I'm going to get deeper into that, too, as to why I think it's an agenda and why it's programmed. Just keep on listening, guys. All right? So now, if he was to get murder in the first degree, now this is what we want. We want him to get murder in the first degree. Okay, so section 609.185, this is what it says if he was to get murder in the first degree. Whoever does any of the following is guilty of murder in the first degree and shall be sentenced in prison for life. Number 1, causes the death of a human being with premeditation with the intent to effect the death of a person or of another. Yes, this is what we want. So we're hoping and praying that George Floyd gets the justice that he deserves. No human being deserves to be treated as such. As I stated before in my previous podcast, my previous episode, no one deserves to be treated as such. No one. No one. I can tell you about all of the laws. This is right now. You can pull it up. Pull it up, guys. Look it up. Look up Minnesota laws for murder. In the first degree, second degree, and third degree. You know, I'm not going to get into that. You know, I really don't want to get into it, you know, but, you know, I want you guys to do your own research. I'm not going to do it for you. We need to do our own research for ourselves. You know, and that's why I said I want to talk about some creative shit today. Some creative shit today. You know what I'm saying? This is creative to me, you understand? Because I'm expressing my rights. And I'm talking about my opinion. And I'm protesting. I'm using my platform to protest. And doing it the way that I want to do it. And informing y'all and letting y'all know y'all need to do your research. Y'all need to be smart about different things. There's a lot of things that y'all need to be smart about too. A lot of things that we all need to be smart about when we're doing anything. And even down to looting too. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things. A lot of things we need to be smart about now. We need to wake up now and be smart. You know, of course, we all know Derek Michael Chauvin, that is his whole name, caused the death of George Floyd. And of course, the other officers need to also be held accountable and charged too, as well. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, just like I said, we're going to see how this pans out. We're going to see how this is going to play out. We're going to see how everything is and how the world is going to view all of this for it to come. You know, because just like I said, it hit my city too with the protesting. You know, people are hurting. People are hurting. People lost their jobs. People don't have any food. And you know, people say, well, they don't have no food now because they tearing up shit. No, people ain't have food even before that. Now, come on now. People ain't have no jobs even before that. And when they did have a job, they wasn't even getting paid that much to support their family so that they can buy the fucking food. So no. You know, it's a lot of stuff that I can get into and a lot of stuff that I can say that is just my opinion. And just like I said, if this triggers you, then by all means, please don't listen to me and unfollow me too as well. Okay? So I just want to put that out there. All right. You know, I just want to say that today. And I also want to say that the 14-year NBA star, retired LA Clippers Steven Jackson, had shared his grief about the death of George Floyd. Now, George Floyd is his hometown friend out of Houston, Texas. Yes, out of Houston, Texas. That is where George Floyd, you know, it's from. That's where he was born, Houston, Texas. But you know, he wanted to get out of that city. You know, that city wasn't good for him at the time. He wanted to get out of that city and start a new life and start over. Yes, he did some time. Yes, you know, we all have a bad setback in our lives. You know, there's a lot of things a lot of shit that we have been through, a lot of stuff that we did in our life. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that we did in our lives that, you know, we regret. And, you know, we turned over a new leaf and now we're doing, you know, good things for our life. We're doing positive things. We're doing things that, you know, that is very beneficial for us and sufficient for us and for our future and for our family too as well. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he did. And that's why he moved to Minneapolis, so that he can have a better life. You know, a better life, you know, to do something different, you know. So Steven Jackson had took to his Instagram account to, express his grief. And, just like I said, that was his hometown friend. He, kept in touch with him. He kept in touch with him. And of course, now I want to say this. Now, this is also eerie to me. It was very eerie to me. Like when I was doing my research and then, stuff came out, watching TV news and whatever the case may be, and researching this story, it was very interesting to me that Stephen Jackson and George Floyd, they look understandably, they look alike. Okay. And that's why Stephen Jackson calls him his twin, because two of them, they look so much alike. It's unreal. It's unreal. It's unreal. Very unreal. And that's why I said it's very eerie. And they are not blood brothers. No, they are not. They are not blood brothers. They are not related. So after he took to, just like I said, his Instagram account, Jackson traveled to Minneapolis for George Floyd's rally. Yes, he traveled there. And, the NBA star has also provided it's his support to the investigation and, trying to seek justice for George Floyd, for his friend. He wanted to seek justice for him. So I want to play a little clip. I want to play just a little clip from the Today Show with Stephen Jackson talking about, him, being friends and, what he is in fact trying to do to, again, bring justice for the death, for the horrific death of his friend and brother, George Floyd. All right, so now let's get into that clip now.
In police custody, they started outside the police precinct, not far from where 46-year-old George Floyd died on Memorial Day, actually. An auto parts store and some other buildings were left in flames. Several businesses were looted as well. Video from Monday's incident shows that police officer kneeling on Floyd's neck for about 8 minutes as he pleads for help. This morning, the city's mayor is calling for that officer's arrest. 4 officers involved have been fired. We are joined now by former NBA star Stephen Jackson. He was lifelong friends with George Floyd, and Stephen, of course, spent about 14 seasons in the NBA. Stephen, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
You described George as your twin. I know you grew up in Houston together. What was he like? What was your friendship like?
It was meant to be. I'm from Port Arthur, Texas, probably 45 minutes from Houston, and we was introduced to a mutual friend that's passed by us now. Rest in peace to him. But once we saw each other, the first question we asked, "Who your daddy? Who your daddy?" and it went from there. We always hung together. Every time I went to Houston, it was my first stop to stop and pick him up and see where he was in CUNY Homes. And what's killing me the most about this whole thing is being a professional athlete. So many people abuse your friendship and your kindness, and he was one of those guys that genuinely supported me. He didn't call unless he really needed it. And you don't have many people that genuinely support you without any motives, and Floyd was that guy.
How did you find out what had happened, Stephen?
My girlfriend's mom is from Minnesota, and we talk about these type of things all the time. And she sent me videos all the time. So I was actually asleep on the couch with my daughter, and she sent me and I looked at the video, and I was thinking it's just another video that she's sending me, another black man getting murdered by the police, and I didn't really pay attention to it. As I clicked out of the message, I had 50 messages, and I clicked on one of them from my friend Mike D, and he said, you see what they did your twin in Minnesota. And I jumped up, screamed, scared my daughter, almost broke my hand, punch and stuff, because I was so mad. Because I'm the type of guy, I get mad and I get into a full face of tears when I see a homeless man on the street that I can't help. So let alone my best friend on TV for the world to see getting killed over a fraud charge or a fake $20 bill. It just destroyed me, and I haven't been the same since I seen it.
One of the things that struck me about that video, Stephen, is you hear him actually cry out for his mother. I did not realize that his mom had actually passed away 2 years ago. When you saw that, when you heard that, what did you think?
It hurt, man. It hurt because I knew that was a cry for help. I'm a black man, and I'm a strong black man, and I know Floyd. That's a cry for help. We don't scream our mother's name like that unless we know something is wrong and our life is in jeopardy and we can't control it. That was a cry for help. He even cried out for his kids. It's just tough to see. His kids had to see that. I was talking to his daughter's mother yesterday, and the whole time I'm talking to her, the daughter is screaming. She has to see this. The whole world has to see this, and she has to deal with this for the rest of her life. It's just not right, man.
His 6-year-old daughter. Stephen, you wrote something on Instagram that caught my attention last night. You wrote that you two both have something else in common now in his death. You wrote that both of your names will live forever. How will George's name live forever?
A lot of police brutality has gone on. They have a lot of kids, black young men have died. George Floyd's name will be remembered because we're going to get change. Change is going to start with George Floyd. We're going to get change. This is not right. Some kind of way we have to figure this out, man, because you don't want America, you don't want us pulling the you on you. And I mean that by saying you don't want the people that you've been brutalizing, the people that you've been treating like trash, you don't want them to turn around and do that on you. And that's why America is so scared of us. But we're not going to do that. We come from a place of love. Every post on my Instagram, I post love to all who have love for all with fist emojis from every color, from every race. Because I told someone from every race that I love them, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've did business with someone from every race and been successful and told them I appreciate them and meant that from the bottom of my heart, and vice versa. So this is wrong. I don't stand for what's wrong. I stand for what's right, and I'm going to get justice for my friend.
Stephen, before I let you go, I want to ask you about the protesters. We saw them for a second night. Last night, the protest appeared to turn violent at one point. What do you think that George Floyd would say about these protesters who've turned out in his name?
He would honestly, I would say this. He would be happy that the people are fighting for him, but that's not the way he would want it to do it. He wants the people that's responsible for his death penalized. He wasn't the type of people to hurt innocent people. We were the same type of people, just like I said. We'll ride and see a homeless person, and if we can't do nothing for him, we'll get emotional. So this is not what Floyd would want. Floyd would want everybody standing together and fighting for justice, and that's it. He's not the type of person to promote violence, stuff like that. He used to baptize people. So this is what we're saying right now. This is not what Floyd would want.
Stephen Jackson, I appreciate your time this morning, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Yeah, it was really, really disheartening. Really disheartening to hear that. And, it was evident that, he was a good person. It's evident, now they're trying to paint him out to be, like the stereotypical of what society think a black man is, Now they're trying to paint George Floyd out to be that way. Because it's talk that I see that, George Floyd has a sex tape out or whatever, or some shit like that. They try to conjure up stuff. But if in fact, if that is the truth or whatever that is, then, that's his personal business. A lot of people out there got fucking sex tapes, you know what I'm saying? You got people out there on OnlyFans right now. You know what I'm saying? So, that's his personal life. That's what he chose to do. That's his truth. That's what he wanted to live in, if that's something that, if in fact that is true. You know, if in fact that is true, that he has a sex tape out there, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Anything to defame, anything to just defame him and make him look, less, make him look less, just to, so that they can at least a little bit more, add a little sparkle, a little pizzazz, on the fucking story.
So fucking motherfucker.
Yeah, anything, any damn thing, anything, that's what they do. That's what they want to do. And they've been doing that for centuries. They've been doing that for years. That's nothing new, that, that they were basically doing that. But, overall, added with it, the NBA, yes, the National Basketball Association, has also provided its support right along with the Minnesota Timberwolves player Karl Anthony Towns. Now, I don't know if you all remember him, Karl Anthony Towns. His mother had passed away from COVID-19 as well. You know what I'm saying? So he joined Steven Jackson, with the rally there in Minneapolis as well. And right along with his teammate, Josh Okogie. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the names wrong. Josh Okogie. And they were also joined with the Minneapolis community leaders, including actor and singer and comedian Jamie Foxx as well, and Tamika Mallory. Yes, Tamika Mallory. Yes. Yes, I'm going to get into talking about a little bit more about Tamika Mallory, because now she is getting, she is really, really getting, attention, because it's a speech that she did that was very powerful during that rally in Minneapolis, protesting the death of George Floyd, because Mallory, who formerly worked with Al Sharpton's National Action Network in New York City, went on to say this powerful speech. It's a powerful speech, guys, that in my opinion, it's going to go down in history. This speech is going to go down in history. It's going to be part of the speeches that's right along with all of our civil rights activists. This speech, in my opinion, is going to go down in history. And I want you all to take a listen to that speech right here. All right, here it goes.
People are dying in a state of emergency. We cannot look at this as an isolated incident. The reason why buildings are burning are not just for our brother George Floyd. They're burning down because people here in Minnesota are saying to people in New York, to people in California, to people in Memphis, to people all across this nation, enough is enough. And we are not responsible for the mental illness that has been inflicted upon our people by the American government, institutions, and those people who are in positions of power. I don't give a damn if they burn down Target, because Target should be on the streets with us calling for the justice that our people deserve. Where was AutoZone at the time when Philando Castile was shot in a car, which is what they actually represent? Where were they? So So if you are not coming to the people's defense, then don't challenge us when young people and other people who are frustrated and instigated by the people you pay. You are paying instigators to be among our people out there throwing rocks, breaking windows, and burning down buildings. And so young people are responding to that. They are enraged, and there's an easy way to stop it. Arrest the cops. Charge the cops. Charge all the cops. Not just some of them, not just here in Minneapolis. Charge them in every city across America where our people are being murdered. Charge them everywhere. That's the bottom line. Charge the cops. Do your job. Do what you say this country is supposed to be about, the land of the free for all. It has not been free for black people, and we are tired. Don't talk to us about looting. Y'all are the looters. America has looted black people. America looted the Native Americans when they first came here. So looting is what you do. We learned it from you. We learned violence from you. We learned violence from you. The violence was what we learned from you. So if you want us to do better, then damn it, you do better.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? There you go. There you go. There you go, guys. There you go. You know, we can look at it as just in one city. You know what I'm saying? Some of us can look at it that way. You know, some of us do look at it that way, but we can't. We can't look at it that it just happened in just Minneapolis. No, we can't look at it like that. Because it showcases now that, as she stated, that is evidence that the agitators, instigators, hype it up even more for the protesters, and maybe even more possible deaths as well. You know, now it's going viral that it is seen and it's evident that they have bricks. They have pallets of bricks in every city. It's popping up. And people are asking, where are these fucking bricks coming from? You know what I'm saying? Where are these bricks coming from? Why are these bricks here? You know, so they getting it ready for the people. They getting it ready for them. They say, hey, here you go. We want y'all to tear up your city. And you want to know why? You want to know why they want to do that? It's because they want to push that agenda. They want to push that agenda for martial law. You know, they said the convoy didn't work. You know what I'm saying? Convoy didn't work. It didn't work. So therefore, they're going to, you know, put this out there. You know, this situation happened. This situation happened. It's time. It's time. It's time, guys. It's evidence that shows that it's time. All right? It's showing. Her speech was the most powerful speech needed for everything that is going on. Her voice has been spoken for everyone in any situation, whether it will be from the Montgomery bus boycott to Breonna Williams. I don't know if y'all know who Breonna Williams is. Breonna Williams had an incident where she was told not to come back on American Airlines flight for no reason. Yes, for no reason. Then she then had no way to, you know, catch another flight because the other flight wasn't until 7 a.m. in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, what kind of stuff is that? And then she was forced. She had no way but to just, sleep in the Atlanta airport overnight with her child until 7 a.m. 7 a.m. Because that was the next flight out of Atlanta to New York. And how that happened was she had a situation with the pilot. The pilot, for some reason, didn't like her. For some reason. She still doesn't know, still to this day, that she was racially discriminated on American Airlines. Yeah, she still don't know. And also, Mallory. Tamika Mallory also had an incident with them, too, as well. And it wasn't until that she had that incident because she has a voice. And it was made known to the CEO of American Airlines that Diddy had helped Tamika Mallory, get word out to American Airlines like, hey, y'all messing the hell up.
So fucking motherfucker.
Yes. However, it was taken care of. They had meetings and so forth, and and they talked about the situation. And I don't know if it was any compensation or anything like that, but overall, it was talked about. And of course, Tamika Mallory, right along with the George Floyd incident, she has a voice for this generation. That is difficultly being heard. It's hard for us to get heard and seen when situations like that happens. Right along with this next topic that I'm going to talk about is Breonna Taylor. Mallory has been a great voice in that situation. Now, this situation is not being talked about as much in the media. It's being talked about now. It's being talked about. I looked at all of Tamika Mallory interviews just about, and she is a powerful force. Now, for those who never heard of her, and I'm quite sure probably some of you probably heard that speech or seen it on social media because it went viral, and by all means, look her up, and of course, there's going to be some things that, that the agitators, the instigators going to put out there about her because she has that voice. She has that political activist voice. And of course, any type of activist that, of course, is standing for the community, of course, they're going to put out stuff, talking about them, as well. Just like I said, I looked at all her interviews and now I can see that this speech that she had, that one that y'all just heard, that speech is the tipping point, and you can feel the passion and the needed urgency for our people. Now let's get into talking about Breonna Taylor. Now, this is the last topic that I'm going to talk about today. Now, Breonna Taylor was tragically another tragic murder that happened on March the 13th in Louisville. Now, the Louisville Metro Police Department has said that they were conducting a search warrant in a narcotics investigation, and that the officers identified as Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly, Brent Hankinson, and Miles Cosgrove stated, now these are the three officers that were involved in this situation, stated that they allegedly announced themselves before and after using a ram. This is big thing that they use to barge into someone's property, if they have a search warrant or whatever, a warrant to get into the property, the premises, to break open her door. Now, Breonna Taylor was killed and they shot her. They shot her 8 times. And after officers forced their way into their home, and then her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, who is licensed to carry a gun, had exchanged shots with the officers in defense for protection, since they never announced who they were. Now, they of course went on to say that they did announce who they were. They did went on to say that, but it was found that they asked the neighbors and witnesses. They said they didn't announce. They just heard noise. They just heard shots and noise. They didn't hear anything. They didn't hear the police, because when that happens, the police announce themselves. This is the whatever, we are here or whatever. That's what they do. In certain instances, I guess. It's like I said, I'm not a law person. I do not know. And for those who are out there, maybe y'all can enlighten me on that. When it comes to different search warrants and stuff like that. Because when I did my research on it, I got conflicting research on it. So I don't know which is right. Because, every state is different when it comes to search warrants. So y'all can enlighten me about that. But however, just like I said, her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, exchanged shots with these police officers. When they came into their home that night. It was a nighttime when they came into their home. And of course it was found that they were investigating her apartment from a previous boyfriend she dealt with, that they were in search of whom they already had in custody. He was already in custody. I don't know what happened in that situation. For them to have that miscommunication on that night, to lose all accountability, to not have all accountability of killing someone, and not even acknowledging that they did it, and then leaving her body on the scene there too, with her grieving and sobbing boyfriend. Calling 911. And it was also said that the 911 operator didn't do her job well, even though they are trained to be calm or whatever. But, she's, in my opinion, if you listen to, I'm not going to play that tape. I'm just not, because this, I don't want my episode to be too long, but however, that clip is out there, that 911 clip is out there for you all to listen to if you would like to hear Kenneth Walker calling into 911. It's very disheartening. It's very sad to hear, and just like I said, it was was found that they did, when they searched the premises, that they didn't find any narcotics, which that's what they came there for. They was trying to find something, but they didn't find anything, because they all came up clean. They all came up clean. Her family filed a lawsuit on April 17th, and it alleges that the officers did not knock or identify themselves prior to entering into Breonna's home. Yes. An arrest warrant obtained by the outlet said police executed a no-knock entry to the apartment due to the nature of how these drug traffickers operate. However, no drugs, just like I said, were found in the residence. There was nothing found. And I just think that it was sad. And, just like I said, that, the authorities, they tried to pin it on her boyfriend, because he was later on after everything just happened, after her death, they arrested him and tried to charge him with her death. Yes, they did. They tried to pin that on him. The prosecutors tried to pin that on him. But as of last week, Kentucky prosecutors have dropped all criminal charges against Kenneth Walker, and now the FBI officials has stepped in and announced a federal probe in the case of Breonna Taylor. Now, once again, this story needs to be talked about more. It needs to be talked about more because they need to be held accountable. They need to be held accountable and charged with her death. All of them. All of them do. All of them do. Because now, this is aspiring. She was an EMT driver. She was an EMT. She was an essential worker fighting this cold void strain. She was out here doing that. You know, and she was aspired to be a nurse. She wanted to be a registered nurse. That's something that was her dream. That's something that she wanted to do. But now her life is gone. They took her life, you know, without care. They didn't even care. Now, this is my opinion on all of this. You know, because just like I said, I wanted to get into some things today and talk about some stuff today. Now, my opinion is that, now this is where I said how it's an agenda and how we all need to wake up and see. Because we are in an esoteric spiritual warfare of the minds, heart, and spirits. That they want us in this illusion. They want us in this illusion, this matrix, this made up world. The media wants us in this illusion. They want us to rebel and trap us into thinking that justice will be served. You know, they want us to think that justice will be served, and I'm hoping in fact that it will be served. I'm hoping that it would be served, but we need to wake up. We all need to wake up because this is happening right now. Not just in Minneapolis, but now it's hitting your city. Yes, it's hitting your city. And I'm quite sure when you walk out the door, you will see that your city is demolished too as well. Just like every other city, just like Minneapolis, it's going to hit your city as well. It's coming to a town near you. Just like how they say at a theater near you. Yeah, it's coming. It's going to be televised. You will see it. We are talking about it. We're living it. Each and every day. You know, just like I said, we need to wake up. This is really happening right now. And society doesn't have the resources. You know, the society doesn't have the resources for us to really, really bounce back from it. You know, so they say that they do. Now we're seeing that they have the resources. Now we're seeing that they have trillions and trillions of dollars. They have money. They have money to fund a lot of stuff out here. They have the money to fund it. To give us better education, adequate education. You know. Sufficient pay and jobs. They have it. They have the resources to build better schools. So schools won't suffer having, you know, asbestos in schools. These old schools that are like crumbling down. And water pipes. They can't even drink the water. Still in Flint, Michigan, the water is still bad. You know what I'm saying? No, we haven't forgotten about that. They want us to forget about that. They want us to forget about all those things that's still a problem. They want us to forget about all of those things. They want us to. That's why they place these things out here for us to distract us. To, you know, forget about it. You know, businesses are closing down. And no, not just because they riot, you know, they were rioting and they burnt them down. No. Businesses were closing down even before COVID. Businesses were suffering even before that. You know? And some are never to return. Some are never to come back after all of this. So now everything happens for a reason. I always say that everything happens for a reason. And just to think, you know, just to think about it, y'all. Just think about it right now. So when COVID-19 hit, that was a wake-up call for all of us, right? I know a lot of us were saying, I see a lot of people are saying that, oh man, when COVID hit, that made me realize that, you know, how much I miss my loved ones or how much I miss going outside and doing stuff and getting into stuff and seeing stuff and, you know, and doing the stuff that I used to do. It makes me miss it. But now look at what's going on right now. It wakes us up even more in another light. In another aspect, in another time, in another space. It makes us not forget about the millions and millions of years of oppression that has been plagued upon Black people. No, COVID didn't wake us up. COVID didn't wake us up. What's going on in the world woke us up? And this has been in a long time coming. Just like I said, it's a tipping point. We've been waiting for this to happen decades. All that looting and all that rioting y'all see out there. Y'all hear all the police cars. I don't know where you live at, wherever, suburbs, wherever. They're making their way up to the suburbs too now. Just let y'all know that. They hit Rodeo Drive in LA. Yes, they did. They're making their way. And just like I said, at a theater near you. It will be televised by any means necessary. That's what a lot of people are saying. But however, you know, for decades and centuries, we need to see the change that happens. You know, when you make a stand, when you stand out there and when you protest peacefully, out on the front lines, you know, we need to speak in a way that is what you know to be your truth so that you can get it across, so that you can be heard. Because we see what's happening right now. You know, just like I always say, we are warriors. We have the power. And I always say, we know more than we think we do. You know, we need to hit them where it hurts. You know, and this is where it hurts. The pocket, the dollar. Now, I know that there is a day that they are going to have. It's called the National Blackout Day, which is going to take place on July the 7th of this year. Yes, July the 7th of this year. Now, as this day, for those who don't know what National Blackout Day is this day that urges Black people to withhold their money as an economic protest. Yes, that's great and all. But why not start that now? Let's just start that now. Why not start it now? Huh? Why can't we do it now with these corporations out here? You know? And, you know, I just want to end it with that, I know you all see the state of the world. I know you all see it. You know, you get some people that want to turn their face. They want to turn their eye to it. They want to say, you know, I don't see it. I don't see that. I don't want to see it. You get some people that just don't want to see it because it's too sensitive for them. But you want to know what? You will see it. It's going to be evident. It's going to be to where all of those people say that they don't want to see it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to do it. They just don't want to be involved in it. I don't know anything about that. It's going to be thrown in your face so much. It's going to be right there in front of your face to where you cannot unsee it. You cannot unsee it. Even down to the little children. You have to talk to them about it. We cannot unsee it. This goes down in history. This is going to be a part of history. You know what I'm saying? Ever since 1968, it's going to be a part of history. Once again, history repeats itself. And this is happening for a reason. Because everything is over now, guys. Everything is over now. Everything is over. You know, I read somewhere that it says that sometimes shit needs to burn down for something beautiful to grow. And, you know, you never know. Maybe this is that time. You know, maybe from all of this, we will get our voice heard this time. This time, we will get our voice heard this time. All right? All right, guys. So now I want to get into now, are we here for it? Are we here for George Floyd? Are we here for Breonna Taylor? Are we here for it? Are we here for those two individuals, those kings and those queens that have lost their lives tragically to murder by the hand of police that is supposed to protect us? Of course we are not here for it. We're not here for it at all. My city, the city of Philadelphia, is going bananas. It's going crazy right now. I have not sleeping in the past couple of days. They have looted the stores on the avenue that I frequent on a daily basis. And I also have a son. I also have a black son. He's 22 years old. And I do fear for him, but I'm not afraid. Because I know that we will be protected. You know, because we think smart. You know, but you never know. It could happen to us. It could happen to me. God forbid my son can be that George Floyd. Or that Ahmaud Arbery. Or that Trayvon Martin. Or that Tamir Rice. My son. Or I could be that Sandra Bland. Or I could be that Breonna Taylor. You know? But, you know, we need to change our mindset and think smart and think positive. You know, and I'm going to definitely keep on continuing on being here for it. You know what I'm saying?
So fucking motherfucker.
And think smart and hit them where it hurts. Is the pocket. The pocket. That's where it hurts. And I'm just one individual, guys. I'm just one individual, okay? Just one person. Imagine We are more powerful in numbers. So if we all do it together, then imagine what could happen if we do. Yes, guys. All right, now, so if y'all enjoyed that commentary, by all means, leave me a review, guys. Yes, leave me a review. And also leave me that 5-star rating, guys. Leave me that 5-star rating. Anywhere where there is a rating, leave me a rating and a review. And also, once again, guys, if you want to help support this podcast, follow me on all my social media and help it grow, y'all. Help this podcast grow. If y'all like what this sister that's talking right now is saying, then follow me on all my social media. Follow me on Instagram at CreativeLipsPodcast. Yes, and also follow me on Twitter at CreativeLipsPod, because I post stuff there too, guys. All right, everyone. Be well, be safe, and stay woke. All right? All right, guys. Until next time.
It makes sense. Carefree is cool, but not at my expense. Tell me what matters, 'cause I don't know where you've been. No lovers, just a real farewell friend. Tell me how long until you're gone again.
You are now listening to episode 44 of the Creative Lips Podcast.